Hello, how's it going? Welcome to the Christian comedy episode of Motivation with Darius. So today's topic we're going to be talking, as previously stated, we're going to be talking about Christian comedy. Christian comedians have a very difficult job. They have to make jokes that don't offend people or disrespect people's culture, and they don't use profanity. That is altogether in itself very, very difficult. I mean, personally, I couldn't. I don't know, I I think it would be very difficult. I think that makes their job even harder. There's big, huge comedians like, oh my gosh, I can't remember this guy's name. Why am I having a lapse right now? Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is one of the biggest ones right now. But I'm sure everybody has heard of Kevin Hart. You probably have seen one of his shows. The guy is absolutely hilarious. But, he's not one of the Christian comedians. The content in his shows is, it can be like, sometimes it can make your skin cringe. He'll say something that you're just like, oh my gosh, did he really just say that? And sure enough, he definitely did. So yeah, some great Christian comedians are Michael Jr. He's actually very big. I'm sure you guys have seen him before. There's Tim Hawkins, Sinbad, John Crist. There's Kington. These are just some of the bigger ones that I could find when I was doing my research. Let's see. So let's start with Kington. Ken Kington did a set where he talked about his teenaged boys. It was hilarious. If you listen to his set, you can literally imagine what he goes through on a daily basis trying to feed them. I mean, it was hilarious. He talked about how he had bought a cow, and he was talking about how the kids go through a gallon of milk a day, and then he talked about how he had bought the cow, because someone was like, hey, you should just buy a cow. And then he was like, I did buy a cow, and they killed it and ate it. I was like, oh my gosh, man. He's like, yeah, man, the teenage boys are they're just a terror. It was hilarious. It was a really good set. I definitely enjoyed listening to that one. Let's see, who else we got on here? David Atkins. Now, David Atkins is Sinbad's real name. I didn't know that before. I learned that through doing my research today. We all know him as Sinbad, of course, and he's famous for playing in many movies that we all love. One of the famous movies that we all know of is Jingle All the Way. That one was featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm sure everybody knows Arnold. I mean, he is only one of the biggest celebrities inside of the movie industry. He played in Total Recall. He played in there's a plethora of movies that Arnold Schwarzenegger played in. Sinbad also did a movie. He was in the movie called Good Burger. I don't know if you guys heard about. I'm sure you probably have heard of Good Burger. If you're in your 30s, this show was that movie was featuring Kenan and Kel from Nickelodeon. These guys, the Kenan Kel show, man. I remember that show. It's freaking hilarious, man. Kenan and Kel show. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. That show was amazing. I remember, they used to always make crazy jokes, and, they were, some of the greatest comedians, man. Kenan and Kel. Those guys are awesome. Sinbad he was also in the movie called Planes. That's more of the more recent ones that he played in. That's a cartoon movie. It was on, it's one of Disney's featured movies, released in 2013. It's about a crop plane who wants to be a great air racer. I actually haven't seen that movie, but I have seen the commercials for that movie, and it actually looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna go and check that one out myself. And then of course there's John Crist. John Crist is an awesome comic. I had an opportunity to listen to one of his sets, and it was pretty good. He made a good joke about making donations to nonprofit organizations. the nonprofit organization that he was talking about was Chick-fil-A. I mean, I mean, come on, bro. He's talking about the Christian nonprofit organization Chick-fil-A. Are you kidding me, man? But yeah, Chick-fil-A is. I'm sure everybody has been to Chick-fil-A. They're actually closed on Sundays now because of the coronavirus. I think they're. I'm not even sure if they're open. I'm sure they probably do serve food, but it's probably more like you can order through like DoorDash or Uber Eats or Postmates or one of those services. But I highly, or maybe even you probably could even go through the drive-through, but I don't think you can go and dine in. You know, they got all these new restrictions on what you can do nowadays. But yeah, he also talked about a show. Oh my gosh, man, this guy Crist, he talked about VeggieTales. Oh my gosh, I used to love VeggieTales growing up. VeggieTales is like a Christian cartoon. I believe it's about like broccoli, a tomato. It's about a tomato. Yeah, a tomato. I remember the tomato. Oh my gosh, man, I used to love watching VeggieTales. I don't know if you have seen VeggieTales, but it's definitely a great show. You could probably go watch some of the skits on. It's still around, I believe. They're still making cartoons now. You could probably go check it out on YouTube. And then one of the last comics that I talked about, or that I watched one of his skits, was Tim Hawkins. Tim Hawkins is a really good comedian. I really enjoyed his set. It was actually on YouTube. It's called FCF Comedy Date Night. He talked about rock stars. He's talking about like Van Halen and, you know, all these like, you know, rock stars who were like older now, because, you know, like at some point we all get, you know, older. It happens, right? But initially he was talking about like, you know, how like, you know, at like some rock stars should just call it quits, you know. Like, because, you know, they're saying that like, you know, there are like all these old school like, you know, rock bands that are still like, you know, going on tour, and, you know, they're still famous and, you know, making a name for themselves. And but yeah, he went through a whole spiel of talking about it. I mean, it was really good. You got to go check out that one. He also talked about Star Wars. I mean, come on, man. Who doesn't love Star Wars? Star Wars is a great, you know, that's a great movie series. I actually just went and watched episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, I watched them all literally on the same, within a 2-day period. I mean, each one of those episodes is like 2.5 to 3 hours, so it's pretty difficult to run through all of those. But yeah, you know, these guys, I mean, Tim Hawkins, he also talked about, you know, his experience in motels, because he was like, you know, he was saying like how he likes to like make music. And I mean, I watched one of his shows and he started off singing Backstreet Boys, like, you know, he was talking about how, except he changed the words, and he was like talking about how he works at Subway and how, you know, he lives in his parents' basement. You know, like, he's pretty much just talking about like, you know, all the people who currently, like, you know, there's a lot of people who like play video games, and, you know, they still live in their parents' basement and stuff like that. And, you know, I actually used to be a huge gamer myself. But I would say maybe like when I was 23, 20, about 23 years old, 24, somewhere around that time, I pretty much called it quits. You know, I mean, I did open my own cyber cafe. I technically still have the cyber cafe business, but I transferred that into, it was a gaming cafe, but then I changed it to the concept of making it a learning cafe. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing now. But yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to listen to this podcast today. If you enjoyed our show, please follow and share with friends. We are on Anchor FM, Anchor.fm. We're on Spotify. We're on the Google Podcast. Also, please take some time and donate to our GoFundMe. You know, this is very important that, you know, you guys go and donate on the GoFundMe account, because the only reason why I'm able to create this content is because I left the United States. I'm currently living in Panama City, Panama, and I've been making videos, and you can see my videos on YouTube. I mean, I would like to get outside of the house, but they have like huge quarantine because of the coronavirus. Everybody knows about this. Everybody is impacted about it. I just want to say some things before I end this show. It is very important that everybody take all the necessary precautions. There is a video that I watched on YouTube about the proper precautions that we all can take as far as protecting ourselves from the coronavirus. One of the very important things is to keep your distance from people. If you're in a public place, stay about 6 feet away from people. This is very, very important. Number two thing that you can do, personally, I always carry gloves with me. I have like the rubber gloves that I keep with me, and I always wear a respiratory mask. The respiratory mask is probably one of the most important things. If you don't have the ability to get one of those, before I got the respiratory mask, I was wearing a shirt around my face, and I would cover my mouth and my nose. I learned through my research that the coronavirus, what it is they believe that it's a wet virus. So it's like when people cough, right? It's not just transferred directly through the air itself, right? It's when people cough, like there is, whenever you sneeze or cough or something, right, there's in the air there's left liquid, and if somebody walks through that, then and they inhale into their mouth or in through their nose, that's when the coronavirus, it will affect you. It's the SARS coronavirus. So very important, please take all the necessary precautions. And also, like I said, to go back, please go and donate to our GoFundMe. All this content that I have, I'm giving it for free. I don't charge anybody for the content. It's all free. You can find us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Gorilla Nature Inc. Follow us on Facebook at Gorilla Nature Inc. That's GorillaNatureInc.com. Or I'm sorry, that's our website, Gorilla Nature. Please go and follow. You can find all the links to our social media on our website at GorillaNatureInc.com. That's GorillaNature Inc.com. This is Motivation with Darius. God bless. Catch you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy.